broken markets.
There's something they're calling old economics that does not work. The Secretary of the Treasury is always saying that is old economics. People are emulating the capitalist West. They are giving subsidies.
Why don't they consider subsidies during moments like the previous 2 years, where we had a total economic collapse with the inception of COVID-19?
You see, ideally, subsidies make sense. It depends on how you channel them.
Beyond 86 is a transition, and we shall be looking into matters regarding crime, administration, corruption, and a lot more. I'm Ivan Tivenkana, and this is Beyond 86. All right, it's 60 years into Uganda's independence. That's from 1962 to 2022, where we are right now. And one of the biggest questions is how economically sustainable, in fact, even politically, as a matter of fact, because without the political will, we won't have the economic sustainability. So basically, how sustainable can Uganda be? But that will depend on the political will of those in power and basically the administration. So welcome to the program. This is Beyond 86 Talk Series. I'm Ivan Tivenkana. And this time around, we shall be looking into one of the most prominent issues, especially when it comes to administration. One of the checks and balances has been with the opposition, as it streamlines ways and creates the pressure under which the current regime has to play through. So without the political space, the opposition cannot be. We are talking all this at the back of the fourth multi-party elections in Uganda, ever since the 2002 referendum, and then right into multi-party politics. We had a couple of players besides the ruling government, that's the NRM. The opposition strictly has had a number of players. And most importantly, the FDC, that's one of the most prominent political parties. Then you could talk about the Democratic Party, the Uganda People's Congress, People's Progressive Party, GMA, and then right now we have one of the most powerful political platforms, that's the National Unity Platform. So we shall be looking into more than this. So on set, I have still from the previous show where we had the 104 days ordeal of the Secretary for Labor, FDC, Bwembo's ordeal, the imprisonment. He's back on the program, but strictly to talk about the operational space of the opposition. Do they still have a chance to go forward, especially with the issues at play that we shall be looking into regarding their operations? You could talk about the political hypocrisy. Right now, DP has been assimilated into the NRM. That's what most people believe. However, however it plays out, that's some issue that we shall be looking at. So, welcome to the program, Mr. Bwembo.
Thank you so much. As you've introduced me, I'm by names of Bwembo Habib. I'm a leader of FDC. I'm the National Secretary for Labor.
I understand.
Which makes me a member.
Okay.
Yes, I'm as well a political activist.
Yeah.
And I also do activism around human rights. So I'm a human rights defendant.
Okay.
Yes.
So today we shall be looking into one of the most critical issues regarding administration.
Yes.
That's the space for the opposition. In your opinion, before I make up mine or bring out mine, do you really feel that the space is shrinking or it's becoming extremely favorable or large enough for all the political parties in the opposition?
Yeah, in Uganda, we have a shrinking space if we are to talk about civic matters.
Okay.
Yeah, every day, every time it is shrinking, but still it is our duty as Ugandans to work towards opening it, widening it. It is not only a role to opposition, as you want to put it, because you know a political party is one of the civic organizations.
Okay.
If you talk about civic organizations, you can mention religious organizations, Can mention non-governmental organizations, NGOs. You can mention these clubs, sports clubs.
The only difference is all those that you've mentioned
Yes,
cannot actively engage into politics.
into
Talk
politics.
about the church or
But still, a dirty politics in the country can kill all those others. You cannot participate, you cannot do progressive sports when the politics is dirty. And that is what we are seeing, what is happening in the country, Uganda. We have no, for example, if you check with football, where are the playgrounds? Where is Nachivubo? When did Uganda Cranes last play from Nambore? What happened? It is politics that is antagonizing with the sports. When you check what is happening the religious side of Islam, we have two muftis. We have a spray muft, we have a mufti at Old Kampala. And who is causing all those divisions? It is the politics of the day. So, as a person, I discourage citizens from distancing themselves from politics, pretending to be concentrating maybe in business. You cannot have business, you cannot have an economy growing when the politics is dead.
Okay.
Yes.
Let's start from right there. One of the biggest issues has been political imprisonment. We could talk about the different figures in the different political platforms or parties that have been either lawfully or unlawfully imprisoned. You've been one of those members.
Yeah.
104
absolutely.
days previously. We could talk about the two opposition members of parliament, Honorable Seji Linya, and then we have Alan Sewanyana. Until now, they've been detained in prison. Let's talk about this. How detrimental is it to the growth of the opposition operations?
Yeah, you see, such imprisonments, the arrests, the detentions are aiming at creation of fear, instilling fear amongst the political players. Whoever disagrees with the current regime has to face the repercussions, either being arrested or some have been killed. So if you mention people like Segirinya, you ask yourself a question. They say that they are the people who were sponsoring what happened in Masaka.
The machete
things. Is it of its first kind in the country? We witnessed machetes in the same area, Masaka, as early as 2016.
Okay.
Every year, almost, you can, if you've been following, there has been
such incidents.
Such incidents. You remember when we used to hear the so-called sacrifices in Mukono, children being
kidnapped and
beheaded. You hear a child has been kidnapped, was found in the bush, maybe without intestines and things of that kind. We've had fires around schools, fires in the markets, fires in the tombs. You remember Kasubi. Then you recall things to do with Chibwetere.
So how do the fires in the schools and then Kasubi tombs relate to the shrinking space of the opposition?
I'm trying to justify a point of creation of fear, instilling fear.
Okay.
Every time now and again, the state is doing whatever it is possible to make sure that in the public there is that creation of fear. Wherever the fires are catching schools, you will find all parents now, parents' concentration is around their children. How are they safe at school? Without thinking much about how are they being led by the regime. The message of regime will be shortly talked about. Now people will be fearful about the lives of their children or their lives. And to me, I think most of the such incidents are state managed. So if you come and say, we have arrested a person of Sewanyana, a person of Segirinya, to me, I think it is further to instill fear amongst the now people who are in politics, those who are holding positions. And if you've been observant, if I ask you a question, how many times have you seen, since the arrest of Segirinya and Alan, how many MPs on opposition you've had openly criticizing government, how Sewanyana and Segirinya used to do? So they have instilled fear amongst them.
We shall talk about the fear at some point, actually. But in fact, let's go back a little bit. We had the referendum in 2000 that created space for the inception of the different political parties, multi-partyism, basically. Right now, we are talking about over 4 active political parties in the opposition. You can talk about the FDC, the NUP, Democratic Party, UPC, among others. One of the fundamentals for the iPod, among other creations, to create a uniform force that can, Kizza Besigye actually calls this regime a criminal regime, okay? And one of his...
A junta regime.
A junta regime.
Yes.
And he looks at ousting the NRM to be replaced by a more democratic leadership. So, together, we would have thought the opposition have cause enough to indulge into real politics. And then I'm looking at an issue of political hypocrisy. You've talked about Segirinya and then Alan. These are NUP party members.
Yes.
And when it came to passing a motion of censure of the security minister, recalling the spate of killings and then arrests getting into the 2021 polls, some of the hypocrites came from the opposition itself. You couldn't sit down and then vote for the motion to censure. How did we come to this?
You see, we may talk about the referendum that brought in the multi-party dispensation, but the truth of the matter is that ever since Museveni and the team captured power, they also captured all state institutions. That's why you see Museveni saying, this is my army, I've sent my army to Somalia, to the ABCD, I've sent my army to Congo, to the ABCD. It is not Ugandan army as per se. When you hear him talking about the oil, my oil, I've discovered my oil. So to him, everything that is Ugandan, it is his. Okay. So when the multi-party dispensation was voted for, it has not been given space to practice. Okay. It has not been given space to practice.
What kind of space do you need? Because I'm looking at basically the failure of the censure.
For example, a political party, what is the role of a political party? Like if this is where I belong, it has to mobilize citizens, organize them, recruit them into their members, then prepare them for leadership. Not only these positions of MP, councillor, or LC5 chairman, but even the topmost position, that is the presidency. Okay. But you check around how we do operate. The restrictions that have been put around us. Are we allowed, for example, to have public engagements? Are rallies allowed? Even in some cases, we are not even allowed to speak to the media. When we prepare people for leadership, and we maybe front them for contestation, like as in the previous by-election, Soroti East.
Soroti.
Yes, you've witnessed what has happened. So this shows that yes, multi-party dispensation was opened, but still under capture, like other institutions. Since when have we lost the Governor Bank of Uganda?
Earlier this year.
Do we have one? If you were asked who is the Governor of Bank of Uganda, he's Museveni. So Museveni orders for money, haure, from Bank of Uganda. Money to do what? To go in by-elections like the one that has been happening in Soroti, to buy and rent support for his candidate.
One of the most useful issues would have been the cohesion among the different opposition members of parliament. And I'm looking at hypocrisy as one of the most detrimental issues. I've talked about the motion to censure the Minister for Defense, that's Jim Owens. It failed at your hands.
How?
You still have to blame the government.
How did it fail on our hands?
How many opposition members voted for in favor
You
of the
see,
motion?
like as I've said, that all institutions are under capture. State institutions, even private institutions as well, under capture. So in most cases, some of the people that we front in the names of political parties, different political parties, some are infiltrators because of that captured space. You find that people who have steam, those who can stand on their words and act according to what they say, are denied space. You have witnessed in some elections where votes have been rigged. You find, you realize that sometimes Museveni himself do decide on who joins and who doesn't. So even the people you are having like their opposition, when you bring a motion of that nature, that you are censuring a minister, you will find them now receiving orders from the other side of the head of the person you want to censure.
Is it the same issue that happened with Honorable Sam Junganda when he contested for parliamentary speakership?
Yes. Of course, if you are a dictator like Museveni, you can never want to have a speaker of a person of Ssemujju Nganda, because Ssemujju is a man of his word, is a man of principles. So if you allow him a space to become the Speaker of Parliament, then you get to know that all your dirty deals now are at an end. So such an influence was there to deny him space, and it could also influence the opposition side.
Okay.
Yes.
I'm looking at the NRM. Coming into power, they were more radical. In your opinion, is that true?
NRM?
Yeah, coming into power, because they came as NRI. We had the Bush War, 5 years.
Say Museveni, because
Museveni.
there was no such an organization called NRM.
Okay.
Museveni came in power radically. He killed under a disguise of fighting for democracy, disguise of fighting for rule of law, fighting for the freedom of speech.
All right.
But tell me today, what is happening in his regime?
Well,
is there democracy?
That's the kind of
Is there a rule of law?
That's the kind of way he came. Now I'm comparing
Yes.
his radicalism to attaining power versus the opposition's diplomacy. How far are you to use the diplomacy into attaining power, especially against a former rebel?
We wouldn't wish this country to have another Museveni way of coming in power, claiming lives of more than 500 million, that is 500,000 lives, claiming them.
Okay.
just in the name of you coming to power. We wouldn't wish this country to experience the same. That's why for us we are promoting non-violence struggle. How do we organize, mobilize the population to assert their will? Because you know there are 4 constitutional ways of capturing power. One is through an election. Yeah. You can go through an election and you capture power. You win power and you be declared the president.
Okay.
2, it is through a parliamentary censure. You can cause a motion, but in a parliament of our nature, of course, it is not possible. Okay. Then the president gets censured and we get another person leading. Okay. The third one is through a referendum. It can change the system of changing leadership, and then we get another leader. Then the fourth one is what we call the public appraisal. And the public appraisal, to me and to people of my thinking, we think that it is the only remaining alternative. Because the other 3, we have tried elections, and you see what has always been happening in elections. Even the Supreme Court has come out twice pronouncing itself that an election hasn't been free and fair. It had a number of malpractices, military intimidating the voters, then the vote bribery, and so on.
Let's talk about public appraisal.
I was saying, an election, we have tried it and it has not worked. Okay. Then parliamentary censure, where you are having a 70 parliament, you cannot still cause a censure. Likewise, the referendum. So the only option remaining is organizing the citizenry. We prepare the citizens, then we assert our will. We claim the power. It is upon those who are oppressed to push against the oppressors, and we free ourselves.
Let's talk about the country as well. Public appraisal, as you call it. One of the issues towards equitable political representation has been with public ignorance. It can be reflected through issues regarding the removal of political education way back. And this affects the electorate, because without an informed electorate, you wouldn't be having an informed opinion.
Yes.
So, we are looking at an electorate that seems so much detached from what's transpiring in the political arena. How best can you transform these people into coming on board with your beliefs and opinions?
Yeah, we are trying to utilize all the available avenues. That's why now we are shifting from the other main media to social media. We are penetrating to churches, forming more of civic organizations. If you observant, you will find that now in Uganda we have a number of pressure groups. How People Power started, it wasn't a political party. It was a pressure group. We have pressure groups like the Jobless Brotherhood. We have pressure groups like the NRM Poor Youth. We have the PFT. All those to do what? To do a role of informing Ugandans about the problem and how we can overcome this problem. So it is a duty of the oppressors, the dictatorship, also to promote ignorance. That's why on record, world over, it is Uganda that closed its schools longer than any other country. What was the aim behind? Promoting ignorance. In Uganda, it is now about 4 or 5 years when Facebook is at a closure. And according to Museveni and his colleagues, Facebook is closed in Uganda. We only access it by bypassing using VPN and other tools. Okay. Why are they closing? It is because they are aiming at promoting ignorance. Why are they banning political education from the syllabus to avoid, to promote ignorance, the political ignorance on the other side of the coming generations. So it is incumbent upon us as now people who are informed about the problem to find various means to get Ugandans informed. Might start it from my home. All my kids, if you check with them, they know who the land grabber is in this country. That is Museveni. They know who is harassing the hawkers, vendors. Is Museveni.
One of the ways to do that shall be with the financial capacity. And this brings me to this very issue. Previously, when you were imprisoned, I think most of the people that came to your rescue weren't from the FDC. They were partly or largely family members. The political parties were nowhere to come through for your help. Perhaps that could rest with the financial capability to do that. Let's talk about this. Without the financial capacity to execute all these ideas, how best can the opposition find itself in this space?
When I was in prison, it isn't true that the political parties never participated. My political party, FDC, for example, cleared my bail fees. I was required to pay 500,000 to be bailed out as cash bail.
Yes, previously.
Yes, it was provided by FDC. And even part of the welfare, you know, I was in prison for 104 days. And as I told you, I never tasted the meals of prison. So that means that I had to be provided food. Even my family had to be provided food. The political party contributed, but also colleagues who appreciate the work that I do also contributed a lot.
You've talked
and
about...
I thank you all, whoever contributed, whoever made any small contribution. I thank you all for keeping me live in this struggle of making sure that the oppressors are pushed away.
You talked about the financial support of the FDC. You were in prison. One of the biggest problems why the inmates barely get the judicial support, pro bono handlings, you could talk about them, it's because of the money. And some of these people are partly of the opposition. As you say, the oppressed get to be in the opposition. So, and this is part of the electorate that you need to appraise. How possible can they be helped?
I'm on a duty today of creating what we are calling social justice centers Uganda. Social justice centers to do what? To promote justice in our societies. And the amongst part of the justice that we are promoting or we want to access to our people is legal justice, judicial justice. You know, in this country, even those who have the money to rent or hire lawyers to represent them have been denied justice. You've had cases where an officer instructs a magistrate or a judge to do otherwise. For example, in my very case, the person who is my complainer is the Honorable Anita Among, the Speaker of the Parliament of Uganda. She used to call my trial magistrate directly. Don't allow bail. Don't allow. And I have all those records.
I'd like to have a look at that.
You wait. She was given the last chance. If she does not appear on 31st August of this year, 2022, then her file is to be dismissed. That was my prayer before my trial magistrate. Thereafter, after the dismissal of the case, now we will get access to the details I'm talking about. Those influences, how she used to influence officers of court to deny me justice. All those are to be exposed. Right. Because why am I to expose them? If we let people in offices to use their positions to terrorize Ugandans, to influence institutions, it will be dangerous for everybody. Because once people lose trust in the courts, what will come next is promotion of mob justice. And when mob justice is promoted, it will affect everybody.
That's the end of the generation.
Yes. So we have to put a stronger fight to make sure that whoever tries to jeopardize with the administration of justice is dealt with.
Okay, we shall be looking into more of that and the better of this discussion. This is Beyond 86 talk series. First, we're heading for the break. When we come back, we're going to look into the future of the opposition, how the current regime of administration has invested so much in security. 3.987 trillion Uganda shillings for this very financial year. So with such a dedication and devotion, where does the opposition stand? Do they have a future, or we are looking at the dead end? I'm Ivan Tivenkana, but first, the break.
Yes, hello. As the whole world is going digital, TMC brings you Gano Mazima, an online radio straight on your smartphone with easy access to sign up and log in, record your favorite show when it's live, and listen to your recorded shows during your free time. With a very easy to use navigation system designed for you, enjoy the new digital experience. Download now from the Google Play Store and the Apple Store. Gano Mazima, all day entertainment.
All right, welcome back from that break. It's the 86 talk series. In the discussion for today's program, we're talking about the shrinking space for the opposition in Uganda. On set, I have the Secretary for Labor. He was previously here in discussion about an ordeal of 104 days in prison. And right now, it represents part of the shrinking political space, obviously. So, Mr. Wemo.
Yes, sir.
I'm looking at the NRM agenda. We've been involved as a country, led by the NRM. We've been involved in security adventures. We could talk about Juba. We could talk about Mogadishu, Bujumbura, Kinshasa, among others, including Liberia and any other countries that really come to your mind. This is one of the biggest areas as far as NRM is concerned. In this financial year, they dedicated 3 trillion and then 987 billion towards developing the security infrastructure. This includes the UPDF, Uganda Police Force, among others, much as the Uganda Police has its own dispensation of the budget. With such dedication, what kind of image is created for the opposition?
Yeah, you see, like as I've said before, every dictatorship shall invest a lot in beefing the security, its security. So, if you look at the Ugandan budget, year after year, the biggest vote goes to security. During the NRM time, Museveni's time, we have never had any external force attacking Uganda. We've not had it.
Okay.
But every time, now and again, Museveni invests a lot. He buys every type of fighting machine, every type of fighting weapon
military
that he
equipment
comes at the world market. Why? To further building his tools of creation of fear into Ugandans, not only Ugandans, but also these other political players surrounding him. That's why you will hear him everywhere. You will hear him in Mogadishu, you will hear him in Kinshasa. At one time, you remember how he told Joseph Kabila then, when he was the president of DRC, that if you come for a meeting, the M23 shall stop the attacks on that side. And that is what happened. What did it imply? That maybe they were under the control of Museveni himself. Before Museveni went to Congo, under that disguise of hunting the so-called NRA, where were the M23 then in Congo? The moment he stepped there, then that's when we had now the M23 causing attacks on Congo.
Obviously,
and that's when we started
goods.
hearing people running out from Congo seeking for refuge in Uganda. So
This security has been critical in promoting the peace of countries such as Somalia. Don't you think it could have been used properly? Because
creating security in Somalia. Are you aware that our army was chased away from Somalia?
when was that?
So Museveni goes where his interests are served. He had his interests, and the moment the Somalis learned about the interests that he had to deploy in Somalia, they said no to Ugandan army.
And then
Somalia, you
and then
make
the
an
operations of the
investigation.
AMISOM.
You recall the Southern Sudanese saying the person that is failing our unity, a unity between Riek Machar and the other president Salva Kiir, was Museveni. Why? Because his interests are well served when they are divided.
We are looking at a political
So, as
configuration.
Ugandans who are the taxpayers, how much have we achieved from his deployments from everywhere? Somalia.
In your opinion, has the investment in security been misused?
It has. To Ugandans, it has been misused. To him, it is okay. It has achieved his interest. It has served.
How has
his
it
interest.
affected? How has it affected the operations of the opposition?
How is it affecting the operations of opposition? If you've come observing what has always been happening during the election time, you hear sister agents operations, army, where you see the so-called SFC, the Red Top Army, military police, LDU, and all those kinds of security agencies coming now to do what? To torture and causing mayhem on the opposition players. It has a way, it has limited our cause of operation. It cannot allow us moving freely, gospeling spreading our gospel of change.
Is it the same narrative that Norbert Mao will have as per now?
You see,
Because
Norbert
he
Mao.
currently has one of the most beefed up security teams as per this moment.
Yes,
And it's part
Norbert
of the
Mao
opposition.
has suffered it enough, I think, and he could not wait for any longer, and he decided to cross from the oppressed side to the oppressor side. And as we are speaking today, you can see how he has also started oppressing Ugandans. Norbert Mao, last time we had a press conference at the State House, DP's offices, you saw how they were destabilizing even the businesses of people, because State House is a commercial building. It is in the city center, economic center. And on that very building are a number of businesses. They had to deploy heavily, not to allow anybody that they do not know themselves to access the place. Why? Because he knows also that the number of the oppressed are so many, they are more than the number of the oppressors. So if you cross from the side of the oppressors and of the oppressed and join the oppressors, now you move like a thief with the security around you and the fearing to cooperate with the population.
Democratic Party.
So Mao, as a person, he has demoralized the public, because there are a number of NRM people, supporters, who are also oppressed, and they have hope in the opposition. So if they see one of the players who has been advocating for their rights crossing now from the oppressed side to the oppressor's side, they also get demoralized. And they, sometimes, if you've been following, you will hear people saying, politics are tutame, politicians are not reliable. And who does that? Such statements help? Museveni. Because the more you pay off from political engagement, then the more he extends also his life in the leadership. So some of the reasons as to why he will come for people like Mao is to further demoralize the public from engaging in political programs and activities.
The DP has been for a long time been one of the most prominent parties, even way back before NRM assuming power. You could talk about the just after independence. It's been one of the most prolific and prominent parties. What kind of image does the cooperation with the ruling party mean? Because usually, when you look at an agreement, like the cooperation agreement, agreements come with a proposal and then the acceptance bit. So you accept a certain proposal. In your opinion, Democratic Party and then Mao in particular, to whatever he agreed to, what kind of image did he portray?
An image of betrayal. But I will not put it on DP as a political party as a whole. It is to the leaders, the leadership of Mao, and if these other members of DP are wise enough, they can paint the other good picture of their beliefs and of their struggle. Like as I've heard some members led by Dr. Alurume saying Mao can no longer be our leader, and we are against all whatever that he has done, everything that he has put on paper in terms of an agreement. It is not a business for DP. If they distance themselves from the acts of a leader like Mao, then DP can still sustain and it can still build trust from the public. Because Mao is not the first leader from DP crossing to serve the NRM. You remember Haji Nasser Sebagala. He had a huge following. When he crossed and joined the NRM, he used to call himself that if we are in a bush, I'm the giraffe. So these lower animals, when you see a giraffe running, then you have also to follow. How many followed him? Up to his death, he died alone. No, none followed him. I don't have anyone listed that he followed him, as he used to use that picture of a giraffe. So even Mao can be isolated. They say Mao and his business go, and then they concentrate other remaining leaders and the supporters, and they build their people.
Should the public still be optimistic?
But it's still, Mao's crossing should also be a history to clear the image of a person of Dr. Kizza Besigye. You recall in 2015, TDA thing, business, where Amama Mbabazi was a participant, Betty Kamya, Gilbert Bukenya, John Kenny Ruchams, Dr. Kizza Besigye, they were seated around a table to choose a candidate, one person who is to represent the opposition. Mao, Gilbert Bukenya, Betty Kamya, all supported Mbabazi. They were like, Mbabazi is the better candidate. When Ruchams and Dr. Besigye asked Mbabazi about his reasons and what is it that he is adding on opposition existing, Mbabazi had no answer. They chose to move out. Then the Maus came to the public and started now tarnishing the image of Dr. Besigye. You see, Besigye is selfish. Besigye, if it is not him, then it cannot be. We have agreed and unanimously on Mbabazi as a candidate. Now Besigye has shun away.
Okay. Just before, you talked about the pressure groups. We've had the Jobless Brotherhood. We've had the People's Front for Transition that came in just previously. And then we have the People Power movement that has been around for some good time. In 2011, one of the biggest concerns for the walk to work was the rising prices for consumer commodities. And basically, when you look at that period of time around April, Brent crude or crude oil was at $128. Okay? That's a barrel. And then we had the walk to work. Right now, it's the same issue. By around the same time this year, a barrel of the Western Texas Index was at Western Texas Intermediate was at $119. Then the OPEC basket was at $123. The same thing with the Brent crude. It was at $126. Just $2 below what caused the walk to work movements in 2011. The same issue isn't happening right now. Should we consider throwing away these pressure groups and then their movements? Because it looks like they've lost track of what they should do.
We are so thankful to the A4C then, which caused the walk to work, that also created an impact, a very big impact. But we need also to recognize the fact that as you are pushing the oppressor also is pushing back. As you are planning, the oppressor is also doing the planning. You get it? So if you do the auditing about the people who participated at a leadership level, who participated in the walk to work today, and you ask, are they still on the side of the oppressed, or they crossed to the other side of the oppressors? The dictatorship has also been doing some work, renting support from those people. Others are being bought off. Okay. They are now playing from the other side. There are those who are at a rental. They are rented. And their role is to discourage wherever, because the leader of then who led the walk to work was Dr. Besigye, and he's still existing. Even now, when things have gone wrong, he has raised up, saying, let us assert our will and we push the oppressors so that things can get okay. You hear some people discouraging. Those who are not necessarily crossing to the other side, they are still this side, but he rented. Like, Dr. Besigye, wagwako. It is not your time. Let us now wait for the person whose time it is now. Okay. Then they never asked such questions. When he said, let us do, they joined and the work was well done. Today, they are discouraging. They are not maybe causing a parallel activity to push the oppressor, but they are only discouraging those who are on the streets, on the road, doing some work. So, as citizens, we have a duty to sieve those who are for the struggle and those who are not for the struggle, and associate with those who are for the struggle.
Without considering the riots as part of the movements, the pressure movements.
Where are the riots? Who has caused the riots?
I'm coming through. The 2011 Walk to Work was turned more into riots. So
Who turned it into a riot?
let's
You
look at
see,
this.
let me tell you one
Without
thing.
that-
For us, we are for non-violent struggle. Walking from my home to my workplace, how is it riot? How is it a riot?
That's where I'm coming.
You see, it is the side of the oppressors that now come to turn it into a riot. And you recall Kayihura, the IGP then, when he was summoned by Parliament to explain the role of the so-called Chitata Abdallah in the police, he was like, you know, Chitata has done a lot to help us suppressing the walk to work activities. How? Chitata was given a lot of money to go rent some people, come and infiltrate into the players of walk to work, and now start causing some riots, as you are calling them, to attract now police and security agencies to come and also use the tear gas, they brutalize those people who are participating. It has never been in our plan as actors on this side of the oppressed to cause riots, and we have always discouraged riots. The reason as to why we choose even to be diplomatic, as you are putting it, is to avoid causing danger to the people that we are fighting for.
So without...
in other words, we would also have chosen a path of Museveni. We have bigger numbers than he had then.
So without all that you consider chaotic and violent, what's the most provident strategy that you think can increase the opposition space for operation?
Promoting knowledge about the need for change today.
Hasn't it been done? RSC has been doing that.
Yes, we are doing it, but I think the other side we are fighting is more equipped with their strategy of promoting ignorance as well. Because, for example, you recall Mao and the team, they are always putting it on Dr. Besigye. Besigye is the same as Museveni. They are just brothers, eh? So they are playing the same card. Besigye is working towards extending Museveni's leadership in power. So that kind of propaganding has detrayed the struggle, our struggle.
But this is ingrained in your...
not until today, when the likes of Mao, Bet Kamias, even Abed Bwanika, the Abed Bwanika of 2019, if he meets the Abed Bwanika of 2022, they can cause a fight. You recall how vibrant he was, how vocal he was in campaigning against Dr. Besigye. And he portrayed himself as a real fighter against Museveni. Today he has been given a platform, a very good platform. He's a member of parliament. How often have we heard Abedi Bwanika saying against the Museveni's evil acts? You get it? So, part of the reasons as to why today the activism is not as vigorous as it was 2011 is because the side of oppressor has in one way won in buying and renting support from this side of the oppressed and causing a confusion through the propaganda aiming at divide and rule. Today, if you check, the opposition is more divided than ever. And we are only working towards seeing it united.
Doesn't that reflect the broader perspective of the electorate? Because these are the people, they are the same people that were part of the electorate before coming into parliament.
Yeah, you see, when you divide the leadership, of course, even the red are divided. So it is true. even the electorates are divided. But that doesn't mean that they have now turned into supporting the side of the oppressors. You get it? So they are divided in a sense like who is giving us a direction, who is giving us the command to engage. But they are all united with one voice of saying we are being oppressed. And there is a need to change this regime or the leadership of Museveni.
As we wind up,
Yes.
some of the most prominent figures in the opposition are exactly lawyers.
Mm.
And one of the biggest problems with the electorate in the opposition has been access to justice, especially judicial justice. This comes with the inmates down in Luzira where you are. You could talk about the different police stations, whereby when you go out there and check in the different cells, you'll find graffiti reflecting political prisoners from the opposition. Now, how best can the opposition help the electorate and even themselves in accessing justice?
Organizing ourselves more. You see, when we are not organized, either into a political party or into a pressure group or into a non-government organization, the space of communication narrows. You get it?
Okay.
For example, if you cannot cite any single person who is a member of FDC who is in prison without legal representation, if you know him or her, please help me and give me the details. The next day, you will hear that he has the legal representation. Some people who are said that they lack legal representation and they are political players are people whose communication we've not received. You get it?
Okay.
Like we have not learned about the problems that they are in. But what I can assure you, as political organizations, as platforms of platforms which are agitating for the change, we have preparations to do with legal services or legal support.
All right. We cannot get any further than this. It's been Beyond 86 talk series, and strictly we'll be talking about the shrinking political space for the opposition. One of the biggest issues has been political hypocrisy, looking into the developments at hand, the DP almost crossing over to the NRM. That's an issue of contest that has been ongoing for some days right up to the. So such issues, among others, are some of the biggest problems of the opposition. How we transform ourselves or the opposition and then the country at large into something more tangible, that's a question that needs so many answers. So getting into the future contestations of who takes power and how we shape this country, that's an issue for address. I'm Ivan Tivenkana, and this is Beyond 86. Broken markets.
There's something they're calling old economics that does not work. The Secretary to the Treasury is always saying that is old economics. If it's old economics, why are the people who are championing capitalism, why are they doing it?
Boda yafuuka oba ntukomenti yafuuka nsako y'aba poliisi.
Kino kyekisibidde abannayuganda mu nyumba gasiya.
Batukubidde essimu olwaleero ku makya kujja ofiisi batwala determination letter.
A broken education system.
The system needs to be changed, of course. We need to have a system that focuses more on marketing.
Gambanugu. The saying is literally means that just if I know you, we just do our things that way.
Broken administrations. Beyond 86 is a transition, and we shall be looking into matters regarding crime, administration, corruption, and a lot more. I'm Ivan Tivenkana, and this is Beyond 86.